Welcome back. I'm Kim Bailey. She's Juliana Osborne, and this is Inside Exec. We're continuing our discussion with Rob Fahey, the General Manager from Holiday Inn Express at Newcastle in New South Wales, Australia. And this discussion, we're going to explore the human resources side of the hospitality industry, and particularly as it relates to how it affected this particular hotel during the COVID restrictions and lockdowns that came into place during 2020.
I read the way you advertise, you're talking about the locals. You're here for the locals, and if they come for a staycation, if you like, as well as visitors. I really like that because I think sometimes, and that was before COVID, so that's a good way of saying we're part of the community and we welcome you to our home as well.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people, they don't really discover their own backyard. So we live here, but we don't actually view it as a visitor naturally. But I think, that opportunity to stay in a hotel in your own backyard and experience it and particularly Newcastle, there's so much to offer that people overlook. I think that's quite a great thing to do. And we've done it. You live here, but every now and then you stay at the hotel or you stay at a hotel in the Hunter Valley, and it just opens your eyes and to how beautiful, our backyard is. I think that's really important.
What it also reinforces is that the resources, that the human resources that are available in the local area, so that if you're someone who is employing locally, you get to get a better feel for what's out there in terms of human resources as well.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. And that's a great point, Kim. We a lot of the suppliers, we like to support local as well. So that's one big thing and I think particularly in the wake of this, the last 6 months, trying to support those local suppliers and those smaller businesses is really quite a passion of ours,
So just on that learning from within the industry, do you look outside your industry to see if they've got some interesting things that you might try? And in a management sense, not so much what you're providing, but in a management sense.
Yeah, always. I guess, hospitality, you can adopt a lot of other leadership qualities from different industries and adapt them, I suppose, into your industry. So, I think I think you'd be silly not to, cast your net wide and learn from different leaders from different industries. And I think fundamentally the principles are the same, aren't they? They're in terms of leadership and managing people or managing a business. It just might be, there might be some different intricacies in doing so. So, I reckon we can all learn from each other and irrespective of the industry.
Well, we can, Rob, but Juliana and I have worked together for over 30-something years.
Wow.
Probably closer to 40, in fact. We have started in the same stream of an organisation, but we went different ways, and we do have very different views. But we're often, because Juliana's background was very much more in the finance industry than mine was, interesting for me to hear her views on management things and problems, case studies that people send us. And we'll have very different outlooks, very different views because of that background that we've had in different industries. But then in the end, what we're providing is an opportunity for people to see whether either of those solutions works or something else, or the combination of them, or it sparks some other thought. So we're always keen to hear from any kind of industry. It doesn't matter what it is, because there's always information that we can share. And I think what you're giving us today is a lot about managing the human resources, which is great, because that's the area, I will have to tell you, in 200 episodes, that's the area where we get the most inquiries, where we have the most case studies. And
I guess the difference is, and why I was talking so much about the customer in this case, is the fact that all your staff have direct exposure to their customers. In other industries, you could be in an operational area where you're serving someone who's serving the customer. But in your business, most people, whether you're in the maintenance area, whether you're in the cleaning area, whether front desk, whether you're in the restaurant side, the beverage side, or whether you're in the finance side doing their billing, you really know your customers.
Yeah, that's so true. And I guess you're always on show, even if you aren't directly with that customer at that time or that guest at that time. If you're out on the floor, then people are, looking at your body language, and it's really, I think that's a really important part, is to maintain that positive and open body language, even if you're not directly engaging with that customer or that guest. I think that can tell a lot about a person or a culture, a workplace culture.
Yes.
Just speaking on the workplace culture,
Yep.
I will highlight the fact that one of the images that you sent us to use shows a lovely pair of cherry socks.
Ah, yes. Yeah. We're all about the fun socks here. We do Fun Sock Friday even.
Well, that was something that I wanted to ask and I wanted to bring to the fore because
Yep.
I know that there is another person on the staff who, every time we are there, makes a point of showing us what socks she's got on. And at the last,
I bet I know who that is.
and the last time we were there at breakfast, she had to show us that they were two different socks.
That's Jamie for you. Yeah. She was the one that came up with Fun Sock Friday. So look, and it's about having fun, right? It's something so small, but it's fun. You know, you got to have some fun while you're working.
And the point about it too, I think, is exactly what you say. It's a small thing. It's a little thing. You're not asking anyone to step really out of their comfort zone because no one's going to see the socks unless they show them to you.
That's right.
It does bring everyone together. It does give them a focus that is not about, I've got to go to work today, although I don't think I've ever seen any of your staff that look like it's work again today.
That socks experience is really not just a good example of the culture of you guys as a team, but the interaction with the customer. What you just said to him is the person came and that was so lovely. I would love to be in there when, one of the staff will laugh because it's fun shared.
That's true.
Well, I have to tell you the rest of the story because Fuliana knows Jamie. So Jamie, then my Jamie, the male Jamie, he then showed her his socks because he had different socks on.
Competition created.
Very much, yeah.
Yeah.
I think then they went on to bemoan the fact that the place that they both had been buying these pairs of socks that were different, were getting more difficult to find. And so,
yeah, well, first world problems, right? And we can engage, and I think that's it is a relaxed tone in the Express brand, and that's what I really enjoy as well. We can, we get some return guests, such as Kim and Jamie, and we can actually have that engagement with them and take that relaxed approach as well. Still professional, of course, but I like the fact that we can engage with our guests in that manner.
No matter where you are or what you do, if you get recognised, it's the old Dale Carnegie thing. If you use someone's name, then they're going to feel much better about the whole experience, regardless of what it is.
Yes.
That's right. And there's one of our other staff, Linda, you may know, Kim, she can memorise coffee orders, and that's always been a skill that she's had, names and coffee orders. And no matter how hard I try, I get it wrong every time. But it's such an innate skill that she can look at a guest and go, it's a short black or a latte with two. And the guests they love it. And to me, that's the difference between a good hotel or a great guest experience versus a good guest experience. So those little things are really critical.
You know what's really good about what you just said, Rob, is that you know that about your staff. And some managers don't. Some leaders actually try their best, but they don't have that. So you already know all of that about your people, and it must be very rewarding for both of you.
Yeah, it is. And you're right. And I guess I was in a really fortunate position being a new hotel, as you said, Fuliana. Yeah. I could handpick my team from the outset. So that was, to have that as to be able to go into a brand new hotel when we opened last year. Yeah. That was such an advantage to having worked with a lot of these guys and saying, we created a hit list almost and said, right, we need these people to really give the hotel that great reputation. And so, very fortunate.
Great.
Just on that then, because that intrigues me, is that you've got this list of people that you've worked with before.
Sure.
They worked with one another before?
Some have. Yeah. And I guess that makes a big difference as well. And it's a great point because even when I was assembling the team, that had a lot to do with it, how this person works with this person or how are they a good team fit. So you could have someone that can be, have the greatest resume or be the best worker, but, will they fit within the team that we've created? Mm-hmm. And there were certain situations where I had to look at it and say, well, I don't think that person's the right fit, irrespective of their skill set. So that is also really critical because then being such a smaller team, that dynamic of working really well together is really, really critical as well.
So just in terms then of the people management, we all know that there was great upheaval when the hotel did need to be closed over that
Sure.
period of time where you weren't allowed to have anyone around.
Yeah.
How do you pick up after that when you start again?
Yeah, look, that's like going back to those challenges. That was one of the big challenges. So I guess just going back to when we closed the hotel, so 31 March we closed, and at that point there was no end date. No one knew what the future held, right? It was very, very unknown. I think that was probably the most concerning or scary thing that I certainly found, that I couldn't give the team an end date to say, look, it's only for 3 months or it's for 6 months. We had no idea. So I think that obviously communication was critical. We just kept the guys up to date. We did Zoom calls and different things. And then, once we finally got that date to reopen, it was such a celebration. And for me, though, we encouraged people to get other work. So we needed, the guys obviously needed to make a living. And I alluded to some that weren't on JobKeeper, which, that they need to make a living. So we've had people and part of the team seek other work, and they've still got those jobs now. So I guess juggling that, the need as a hotel now, once we've reopened, trying to juggle what they've currently got. So that's been difficult. But on the whole, look, it's been really good. And I think we've managed to keep the core group of people together, which I've been really lucky with. And we've been reopened, 3 months now, 4 months. So things are going well.
Again, just take us through that passage of time. So you've reopened, and obviously it's not like the opening. There was still restrictions in place, and still that you couldn't do that, and still in that, when you talk about the experience for for your customers, there was you still weren't able really to give them the experience that you had previously or would expect to give them. So how do you work through that? How do you not get, I guess the question is, how do you not get disgruntled with not being able to do what you want to do?
Yeah, I think the overarching thing to remember is we can only control what we can control. It's no use getting stressed or upset about things that are out of our control. So we focus heavily on the areas that we can make a difference. So you're right, though, the product that we, post-COVID, I guess you could say, completely different, heavily regulated for all the right reasons, of course, but you're right, it does impact the guest experience. From a team perspective, though, so, we've been working, as we know, brand new hotel, everything's great. All of a sudden, we're reopening the doors in a completely different world. Our SOPs, as we know it, have been flipped on their head. So we're, a lot more regulation, so much more around cleaning. And cleaning was obviously fundamental prior, but there's so many more things around the cleaning and the hand sanitizers and the screens you see at the desk. Food and beverage was heavily impacted in our offering of what we offer in terms of the food and beverage space. So probably the biggest challenge for us is the buffet breakfast that everyone was, we were number one in the region last year for our beautiful buffet brekkie. All of a sudden, gone. So we then had to almost start again to understand what the market expectations were. There's cost considerations that come into it. So there's so many hurdles, I guess you could say, which is preventing us from, being able to offer what we would wholeheartedly love to offer. So it has been very challenging in that space.
Okay. And in terms of your situation in comparison to other group, where do you sit?
So in terms of our product offering?
Yeah.
The biggest one would be breakfast, and breakfast has been identified as a really key part of the guest stay. So it's your first meal of the day, and it sort of sets the tone for the day. So there's been a lot of talk about brekkie, and I bounced a lot of ideas off you as well, Kim. So when we reopened, it was very much getting a feel for what the expectation of the guest is, and people coming or travelling straight out of COVID. I guess there was a bit more leeway, a bit more leniency to say, look, I understand you can't offer a buffet, but we've evolved a lot since that June reopening. So now we're in October. We've come a long way in terms of our brekkie offering, and that was a lot of talking to guests and a lot of we get surveys, of course, get measured on all that, and we scrutinise that very, very heavily and reacted. And I think that's really critical, is to listen to our guests. So we've done that, and there's still a way to go, but we're sort of still, it's a very slow process on getting to that, meeting that balance of maintaining costs as well as providing that great guest experience. I think that's a challenge going forward.
Time to take a break in our discussion with Rob Fahey. We will continue again in part 3 of this fascinating look into the hospitality industry and the challenges and the human resources ideas that Rob is presenting to us. But for now, I'm Kim Bailey, she's Fuliana Osborne, and this is Inside Exec.